Hey, real quick before we get started. If you are a parent or a teacher and you're looking for easy ways for a child to both practice skills and master skills, and you need to collect data on these foundational skills, I'm going to highly recommend you go get your free account at Frenalytics. Now let's get started. Welcome to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. If you are a special education parent, teacher, admin, or therapist, and you're looking to level up your leadership at the IEP table and help build IEPs that work in the real world, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and today we're going to talk about some strategies for collaboration between home and school. You know, in special education, we often have this us versus them mentality of home versus school or school versus home, and it doesn't have to be this way. We absolutely can work together, but that also means sharing part of the workload sometimes, sharing part of the responsibility of ensuring that we are providing an appropriate education that is meeting a child's unique needs, that does prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. Now, remember, I didn't make those things up. Those statements right there come from IDEA Law, inside of the purpose and findings of IDEA Law. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you where to look. I'm just showing you some of the facts of what we should be doing right within this IEP document. And today we're going to talk about a strategy of how we can do that together. One of the things that's really important in special education is making sure that we have all the numbers, right? All the data to support our decision making. If we don't have the data, if we don't have the facts, we can't make great decisions. But a lot of times collecting data is just a huge kind of truckload worth of work for special education teachers. And it falls on them in a way that it eats up a lot of their day. But here's the thing. We need to look at IEP goals of not just having mastery inside of the classroom or even, within the school building, but we have to have the mastery in multiple different environments. That includes home. And that's where parents can help start to collect some data. And we can start sharing information between home and school and collaborate at a whole new level. We can move beyond just having those home to school journals where we talk about, what did a child eat for lunch that day? Although sometimes that's important information to share. But, just going beyond that, those happy and sad faces that go back and forth between home and school every day. Did we have a good day or did we have a not so good day? And really starting to share some true information on skill level, on prompt dependence, on independent mastery of skills. Have you ever heard, a parent or a teacher, right? You guys have this conversation where one person is seeing a child complete a skill and the other person is not. In other words, the teacher says, yes, absolutely. The child can identify all of their colors. And the parent's like, I never see that. Like, I don't see that at home at all. Or vice versa, right? So we have a parent who is at home and they're like, yep, my child can count to 25. And the school's like, no way, we don't see that at all. And there's this disconnect between what the child is doing in one environment versus the other, which means that collecting data together and really communicating on how to collect data can be just critical to making sure the child is supported in all environments in a consistent way and getting the consistent information or instruction or supports that they need so they can reach those next milestones. So there's some, creative ways that we can do this. But before we go any further, I want to make sure that you guys know there's a link underneath here for one of the resources that I'm going to talk about. And that's a resource called Frenalytics. Frenalytics is an amazing tool. And yes, there are free educator accounts, which means that parents, you can go snag those too. Okay, you can go start a free account on Frenalytics. And Frenalytics is a great place to get started in some of these strategies that I'm going to be talking about. So when we are collecting data, we need to first look at the IEP goal and say, how did we commit to collecting information for this goal? If you didn't know this, there's a section in every IEP goal that says how the information is going to be collected. It is critical that you know what that says. As a teacher, it is critical as a parent that you know what that says. So then let's get on the same page of what is being collected and how often are we going to share it? And should we be collecting information on this goal in multiple different environments? Now, collecting information no longer has to be like sticky notes and tally marks, although some of us do still prefer that. That's okay. All right, I get it. No shame in the sticky note, data collection method. But most teachers have upgraded to some type of digital collection of data, or if you haven't upgraded, you're still using the sticky note and then you have to translate it into the digital collection, right? So we need to look for digital systems that are going to work well between home and school for sharing data collection. And this can be as simple as using Google Forms or Google Sheets, just all the suites of all the Google things that are out there. It makes it really easy for the teacher to create something and then share it with home, and we can have different people inputting data. This also helps for data collection across the school building, meaning that other teachers or paraprofessionals can also input data in that. So I want to encourage you that if you're already using data collection, how can you get parents involved with your current methodology that you're using? Now, I mentioned Friendlytics because Friendlytics is a fantastic program online that I found that is not specific to any curriculum or limited by your tools that you currently have. Friendlytics is a tool in itself to help collect data when it comes to things like identification of words, reading comprehension, and all different basic skill levels that we want to build independence in. It's something that you can absolutely access at home and school. It's something that can be consistent for the child, no matter who the instructor is. And those are the things that we need to start looking at when we're prioritizing what are we going to talk about between home and school and help work together in building the next set of skills. Things like Friendlytics that really focus in on everyday objects, everyday language, comprehension for building communication and relationships. These are key. Collecting meaningful data can truly change a child's IEP outcomes. So I've been in situations where we have asked for, where's the data when it comes to a child's IEP goals? And when I say we have asked, meaning the parent hired me and I was helping them ask the right questions of just, where's this information? So we wanted to know what was going on with the student. And the school had so much information, which a lot of times you hear the opposite, right? You hear like the school didn't have anything. They weren't collecting the information. No, that's not the case here. They had so much information that it actually wasn't meaningful. They had so much information. We're like, how are we going to sort through all of this and then figure out where is the child at? If you're feeling overloaded with information as a teacher, it's time for us to figure out how do we start prioritizing IEPs, the goals, and what information are we collecting? And then how are you going to collaborate at home? Because you know what? Parents, I know you're already sifting through so much information for your child. You're sifting through the doctor's reports, the outside therapy reports, all of the information. And then you have all this other information come from school and it looks like a foreign language. And you're like, I don't even know what all this means. Like, can you please just tell me what is my child doing? So instead of waiting till we get to that point, or maybe we have too much information, instead of waiting till we get to the point where things feel overwhelming when we're sending information from school to home and then we have to spend all this time translating, let's get some collaboration and start talking about collecting this information together. Let's talk about doing some practice skills to collect this information. Let's talk about doing some independent skills and some mastery skills in all different areas. And again, that's where I have fallen in love with Friendlytics, because I looked at this, I was like, man, I would have loved this as a teacher. I'm not in the classroom anymore, but I would totally be using this right now because I know that the parents of my students, they didn't need another worksheet for homework. They didn't need something that wasn't meaningful for their child, but they did need to build independence at home. They needed to feel confident that their child was building mastery in multiple different levels of just skills. They needed to make sure that they could actually see it for their own eyes, that they weren't just trusting that their child was doing something, but they could see it and the child was applying it in different areas. And that's where when I'm looking for new tools in special education and I'm looking for how are we going to bring things from the old school way to a new school way? Meaning, like, how are we going to get out of the rut of the teachers in charge of collecting all of this data and we set a child up with a specific task in a specific way and we tally it on a sticky note and then we report that data and then we move on? How do we take that to the next level and make sure that there's application of the skill in multiple different areas? How do we take this to the next level and get the family involved? How do we take this to the next level and make sure that the child knows, because children know, that the child knows that home and school, that parents and teachers, they're talking. They're working together. There's teamwork to help them succeed, to help them really feel like they're being successful and, moving forward. Kids know when they're stuck. That's when shutdowns happen. That's when they're like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. No, I've been failing at this for too long. So we set a child up for success by having better collaboration between home and school on the skills that we're working on and the reports that we are creating of what is a child mastering, how are they doing this, and how are they doing this in different environments? How much help do they need? So I want to encourage you to go grab a free account at Friendalytics and check that out. At bare minimum, teachers, I want you to think about how can I get the families more involved in this process so I can make sure that my students are mastering things so when they leave my classroom, they don't lose the skills, that they're able to apply it in multiple different environments. And parents, I want you to reach out to your child's teacher and say, how can I help? How can I help make sure that what you're teaching at school, I can help reinforce at home in a natural environment, in a way that builds independence, in a way that builds mastery? That creates a true collaboration, and the biggest person is going to benefit is the child. If this was helpful at all, could you please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, if you could just like, comment, share. Every time you interact, every time you leave a review, it helps more parents and teachers find resources like Friendalytics to get ideas like collaborating together on data collection, so they can help build IEPs that work in the real world and help a child be set up for success long term. I do truly hope to work with you inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. Remember, we have both online programs and in-person conferences. So if you've been looking to level up your leadership and go even further in your role at the IEP table, please go visit masteriepcoach.com and find the training online or in person that works best for you. I'll see you guys next time.